Hello guys and welcome back to the channel. On today's video is about how to get better at mixing. On last week's what video tutorial would you like to see next on the channel? This got more votes, so this is a video on it. I've got 5 tips that I'll be sharing with you guys which helped me get better at least 40% when I was learning to mix. And if you stick to the end of the video, I've also got 2 more bonus tips that I'll share with you, which is something that actually will help you improve even further. So let's get into the video. The first one I got on the list is to train your ears at least 1 hour daily. This is an exercise that I went through. So it all depends on how you obviously grasp things, but this exercise helps your ear muscle to actually start hearing the little nuance, especially little changes in different elements. What I used mainly when I was doing my one is vocals, kicks, snare, and bass, because I feel like these 4 elements are the things that if you start getting right, the rest will fall in place. So if you start getting a nice snare, kick, a nice bass and vocal, these 4 elements, once they are sitting right in a mix, the rest sort of falls around them. So once you get better at these 4, then the rest will be in place. So what you need to do is, if you pull up a vocal, try to start EQing it, compressing it. Even if you overdo it, that's fine. At least you are training your ears on how to hear when vocal is too compressed or when a snare is too compressed. So do everything you feel like you need to do. Even when I was learning, I'll pull up a vocal, throw in a compressor, for instance. Let's just go ahead and throw in a compressor, the Logic's one here. So what I'll do is I'll crank the ratio up to what I know I will normally not use when I'm mixing, and then push the ratio way down. So this way you want to see what happens to the vocal when you do this. So let's have a listen to this vocal, and I'll put this compressor on.
We turn out the lights, the 2 of us alone together. Something's just not right.
As you can see, this vocal has got a lot of transients going on. So let's go ahead and crush it so that you can see what happens to the vocal when you overdo or over compress it. And then you try to back off and then see how you can retain that but still compressing the vocal. Have a listen.
We turn out the lights, the 2 of us alone together. Something's just not right.
So as you can see, this vocal is sounding a bit distorted and not right. So this is you not trying to train your ears on how to actually hear something bad and then try to fix it. So you can now go ahead and maybe start backing off on the ratio a bit while you're also playing with the attack, the release. Just start playing around the knobs. The same thing with an EQ. You can use an EQ. Just try to high pass a bit too much and see the vocal sounding thin, and then start bringing it back till it sounds correct to you. So this exercise you need to do 1 hour. You can also do it with reverb. So what I've done is daily I'll pick what I need to focus on. Let's say today I might say, okay, I want to play around EQ. I'll try different EQs so you can actually start picking how different EQs sound slightly different. Then maybe the next day you try compressor. Then the other day you try maybe a de-esser. Then a different day you might try different reverbs. Next time you try different delays. So at least this way you are training your ears as well as building up a portfolio of plugins that you will want to use on your mixes when you start getting better. So that's the first point. So the second point on my list is to treat your room. You need to acoustically treat the room that you are mixing in, because if you are mixing in a room, maybe in a hallway or maybe in a spare room that has not got any treatment at all and you are very close to the wall, you will not get to understand when you are making a mistake or when the vocal is sounding a bit too bassy, or even especially your low end, which is the kick and bass. These are things that suffer because you are on a corner. So you need to make sure that wherever you are mixing is treated to some extent. If they're not properly treated, you need to invest in a good headphone. Even if it's like a mid-price headphone, I'll highly recommend something like Audio-Technica, the ATM40s or 50s. And if you look at the Sennheiser HD650s, these are all good, which they're not really overpriced if you compare to what you pay for typical speakers. Normal speakers, maybe 5-inch cone retails for over £200. So if you get your headphone of £200, that will actually eliminate the problem of acoustic. So I think this is good. So treat your room. If you cannot treat it, invest in a decent headphone. So the third point on my list is limit yourself to plugins, because when I started out, I kept trying different plugins, downloading different plugins, be it free, be it paid ones. But as you try to learn, you need to limit yourself to maybe 2 EQs, 2 compressors, 2 reverbs, 2 delays. Basically, if you can maybe start with 2 or 3 of everything and play around that so you're not overwhelmed with so many plugins. Even now, I've actually still got a stack of so many plugins that I have here. But what I've done is I've actually created my own links here. As you can see, Zany Pro Dynamics. So I've got few compressors that I use more or less every time. And under the ESA, I've selected the ones that I use often. Limiter, the same thing. So I've come on the EQ. I've got all these EQs here that I use. And then on the channel strip, I've got these few bits. The same with this, my go-to, which is the delays. I've got these few modulations. I've got few reverbs, the same. So what I've done, basically, I've sort of created my own links where I can now reach to what I want to get to quicker. And I've put few things that I use more or less often, instead of me having to go here and start scrolling through all this looking for a particular thing, because when you have so many, it can distract you from actually doing what you want to do or learning what you want to learn. So limit yourself to few plugins. So the fourth on my list is gain staging. So if you look at this vocal, for instance, before I actually started mixing it, I've pulled it down by -3.0. So why did I do that? Is gain staging so that the plugins I'm putting on, it doesn't overload it, because sometimes you might not see it overloading here because you are on post fader. So if you're on post fader here, you won't see it overload. So that's why I always go here, which is pre. This is basically gain before it hits your plugins, whereas this slider is after it has hit your plugins. So you can also use maybe a gain plugin under utility in Logic. So let's find that here. So you can also use this to pull it down by 3 dB, which is same. So what happens before the plugins come in. So you need to learn about proper gain staging. I think I've got a video about gain staging somewhere, but I'll try to link it underneath the description of this video. But first thing is you need to go under mix and then make sure that your metering is on pre-fader, because normally it comes on post fader. So make sure this is ticked. Then you are monitoring pre. And when you mix in vocals, make sure that you are getting at least -12 dB on your meter before every other thing coming in, so that when you start adding EQs, compression and other things, it doesn't overload. The same thing on your master fader. Always make sure you've got headroom before you even start the mix, because distorted mixes is associated to people learning or people that doesn't know how to mix. If you get good gain staging, your mix will turn out cleaner, which will make it sound more professional. So the fifth on my list is to always check your mix in mono. So I've got this, which is, let's just have a listen to this mix and I'll try to check it in mono how I normally do.
We turn out the lights, the two of us alone together. Something's just not right. But girl, you know that I would never, ever let another's touch come.
As you can see, immediately I hit that mono button, the mix sounded differently. You could hear the vocal a bit more in the middle and the guitar came a bit more in the middle. At least now it gives you the levels. It helps with the level. I've heard people saying mix in mono, but for me, I prefer to check in mono regularly, but not mix in mono. So I like to mix in stereo, but then check the mix in mono now and again. That's always have this on the mono. So you can also use the utility plugin in Logic. Just flick this to mono, but I prefer the one in isotope ozone. So as you can see, I'm not actually using any of the model. This is the ozone 9 element. I'm only just using this feature because I like how it collapses it in mono. So that's the last one on the list, which is always check your mix in mono. So the bonus tips that I got for you is don't assume that the most expensive plugins are the best. So I've gone ahead and mixed this vocal with all free plugins just to prove this. So let's have a listen to this vocal.
We turn out the lights, the two of us alone together. Something's just not right. But girl, you know that I would never, ever let another's touch come between the two of us. So no one else will ever take your place. No one else comes close to you. No one makes me feel the way you do. You're so special, girl, to me. And you'll always be eternally. Every time I hold you near, you are.
So as you can see here, all these are free plugins that I've used on this vocal. So that's just to prove to you that not every expensive plugin are the best, especially on these compressors from Klangem. They really pull their punches or hold their weight against the best of the best compressors, be it UAD, waves, or anything. So don't let the price tag fool you because they are free. So you've also got this very good EQ from Melda Production. So I either use the Logic own EQ or this when I'm reaching out for a nice parametric EQ. So this de-esser is really a cool, nice sounding de-essers, which actually if you get the paid version, that's as good as the Fat Filter de-esser, which is over £200 or £150. So that's what they've given you here for free. It sounds so smooth and silky. So you've also got this free delay, sweep delay. So all these are free plugins which I've used on this vocal just to prove to you that don't assume that expensive plugins are the best. These free plugins actually sound way better than a lot of paid plugins that I've got on my system. So the last bonus tip I've got is don't do everything you watch on YouTube, because I've actually, when I started out, bumped into some YouTube channels where they would tell you do this or do that, mix like this, mix like that. And when I started trying to do all those things, it actually derailed my mixes, because I've done a couple of mix which I was quite happy with, but when I adopted what they were saying, I actually realized that my mixes were actually getting worse than actually improving. So you need to not just think that everything you watch you have to do. Sometimes you need to watch someone do something just to have an idea of how they do their thing, and then when you go into your own studio, do it your way. If you want to incorporate what they've done but not ditch your one and start doing what they are doing because you think they are pro or something like that. So you need to actually have your own unique taste, because mixing is about taste. So you need to try to develop your own taste. So that's it, guys. I hope this video is helpful. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. If there's any video suggestion you want me to add to the question, don't hesitate to leave the comment down below. And please subscribe to the channel to help the channel grow. Look out for that community so you can always vote for when I ask the question, so that the video you want to see on the channel gets posted on the channel. Thank you and bye now.